Welcome to Venture with Joe and Cody, where we take a deep dive into the minds of leaders and innovators making a real impact today. I'm Joe.
And I'm Cody. And we're here to bring you the raw stories, the successes, and the setbacks that these trailblazers have experienced in their journey to where they are today.
Every week, we sit down with a new guest who's ready to share their insight and advice on business, entrepreneurship, and making a difference in their community. From local community members to industry experts, you're going to get the unfiltered truth behind their success.
So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the business world, join us for a journey of learning and inspiration.
So let's grab a drink, settle in, and let's get started. This is Venture with Joe and Cody. Hey guys, we're back with another episode of Venture with Joe and Cody. I'm Joe Skipper, the owner of Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty, and there is my buddy Cody Wilhelm with Residential Mortgage. Last week, I pointed this way and it went the opposite way in the video, so I don't know.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it was weird how when I downloaded it and uploaded it to YouTube, it was like I was pointing the opposite way. So.
It's a little trickaroo.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing good. I always try to swipe my video over to where it's closer to the camera. I don't know if that makes more sense to be looking at the camera or looking the other way, but
I see what you're saying.
I don't know.
One day we'll have multiple cameras so that it can change the angles and we'll have a podcast producing.
Dude, we're going to have everything. Which we almost have.
I'm thinking of doing our guest room as a podcast studio. Not like an in-person necessarily.
It's your house?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like this office is great, but it's they're kind of, it's in an office facility that's not in it's just rents out individual spaces, offices, and it took over new ownership, and I'm not sure if they're going to keep me. They might want a bigger business in here rather than individual office spaces. So maybe out of necessity, maybe out of, but I think we have a nice guest room. AI is helping me kind of design it and see what it looks like, and it's always exciting to see what it could be. So so maybe you have a new design here soon.
I like it.
Probably later than sooner, but
sure. I want to do a little echo, the padded walls and stuff.
Yeah,
really
I need that now. I'm having an echo in my mic right now, and it's annoying. But by the time people are watching this or seeing this, I'm going to be in Arizona visiting my family and friends for the second part of the week.
I'm jealous.
So you're seeing a historical recording. I'll be in Arizona. Yeah. But our live stream will be in Arizona.
It's time travel.
But I know I'm talking to them as if it's Friday because we post Fridays.
Yeah.
But Thursday will be a live stream. So anyways, it's really weird.
It's people are going to have to really pay attention to track down where is Joe.
I know. But yeah, that's the plan, man. We got spring break coming up, so we're going to do that or doing that right now if you're watching this on Friday. But it's fun.
Dude, this year's gone by so fast.
It's crazy.
They always do, but I feel like this year especially, I think partly because we just didn't really have, in the Northwest, we didn't have what felt like a typical winter. We had a little bit of cold, but even the rain, we've had big, heavy rain, but not where it's just a month and a half of just rain every day.
For sure.
I don't know. It's felt like it's just kind of blown by, and now we're halfway through March.
I know. It's
wild.
Crazy. I don't know when does spring officially start? Officially date wise, is there a date?
April 20th.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Late. I feel like I always think.
I know. I thought so because I thought it was going to be March, but I think when I looked it up the last time, it was April 20th or April 21st. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because we had a busy January in the real estate world, and then February and March-ish have been
yes. I've felt the same thing
right out of the gates on January 1, and we're boom, 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 and then it just stopped, and I don't know if that's the war that's going on or that's a little bit more hesitancy, but it's. I need some spring. I need some spring real estate market pickup.
Yeah, I've wondered that same question, especially over the last couple weeks now. I don't know how much people pay attention to what's going on in the world, right? I bet there's probably plenty of people that really don't even know that there's conflict going on or where it is, war going on.
Yeah.
So I always wonder how much, because I know you and we pay attention to a lot of the stuff that's going on because a lot of it has an impact on the rates and and investments and stocks and everything. But I've wondered the same thing, especially over the last couple weeks, because it's been it's been quieter over the last
For sure.
month or so, and it's hard to know if that's just the ebbs and flows of the market and who's reaching out to you specifically. But it does, it kind of, I feel like they kind of correlate sometimes though too, because rates have gone up quite a bit since the last 2 weeks. So
yeah,
but again,
and it's not just me. Agents have been the same way. And even the active listings right now, they're like, what is going on with this activity? There's just not a lot. And which is typical of a winter month. But January violated that principle, and now it's like back to normal. So it's kind of all over the place. But that's been our market. That's been our real estate world for years. It hasn't followed a pattern that we expect it to follow.
There's no norm.
That's why everyone still has that spring mentality, and it's like maybe I don't know.
Right.
It could be summer. It could be next fall. Who knows what it's going to do. So
yeah, I mean, it's felt like that way the last couple summers too, where it's like, oh, there's this excitement that builds up, and then you get through summer, and you're like, that wasn't really that different than the rest of the year has been. So yeah, we've had steady business, but not.
It just like I said, it was more than steady in January, and then just kind of slowed down. So and try explaining the war over in the Middle East to your 9-year-old daughter who asks. trying to like say it in terms that like a 9-year-old, like you're not gonna have a political discussion or whatever with a 9-year-old,
right? Yeah,
but she asks about it. I'm like, how do I put this in terms, of all that? So even her teacher was like, you should ask your parents. It's pretty, pretty
smart.
Yeah, so
smart teacher right there.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, and you try to get this like very well thought out thing, and she's like 9, and she's like, I don't.
Yes.
I just asked a 9-year-old question. I don't care. I didn't know I was going this route.
Right. I get that. Sometimes Zeke will ask. He's 8, and he'll ask something similar, right? Where it's kind of like, okay, I need to come up with a good answer here because this is a big kid question.
Parent,
I get like 20 words into it, and he's like. Ooh la la la!
Yeah, he's like, what? What did you say? I don't even care.
Why do dogs bark all the time? Like, what?
I was ready for this conversation for like 3 hours. I was prepping this conversation. So, having kids is great. Like,
I know, it's fun.
I was like trying to dive on that note. I was trying to dive deeper into Rory and just be like, hey, like, how are you feeling? Like, what's your mind? Like, how? Because I saw this thing on TikTok about. Especially quieter kids, like you think that they're well behaved and everything, they've got it all together, and that's Roy. You just think on the surface, like he's just totally calm and cool,
no
and
issues,
collected, and they're like they have the same mental issues and struggles and whatever.
Yeah.
So I did that like the other night, like, hey man, like what are you thinking? Like, how's everything going? He's like, what are you talking about?
Leave me alone.
What are we trying to do here? Like, I just need to go to bed. Oh, we try, man.
Dude, it's tough. It's so tough. Like we've had conversations about it before, but like, I feel like women in general tend to be able to have more of that like emotional connection. And I know it from my own, I was way more likely to talk to my mom about certain things, about girls or, the emotional side of things.
Sure.
And it's probably just because my mom was always talking to me about anything and everything versus my dad was just more like,
the dad.
Let's just work instead of talk. Like, let's be productive here. And I try not to do that. I'm also not like the deep dive into the emotional stuff all the time. But I think it just kind of, little side turn here, but it's like, it just shows to me the importance of the a mom and a dad. Like they have very different roles in what they can provide. And so I think sometimes it's good for us to know too, like I can't be that version. I can't be the mom. I mean, I can try, but it's just funny how there's like a comfort that goes to one or the other, or your kid's more likely to come to you for something and then they would go to mom for something else.
Yeah. And I think, I think just even being open about it and talking to him helps because he'll remember that. Even if he's not gonna talk to me about it, he's like, I was able to.
Yeah.
That's the hope anyway.
I know, right? Yeah.
Because my parents were great parents, but it wasn't like my dad was like, "Hey, how are you feeling about everything?" Like,
Yeah.
whatever. It was like, no, like what
Yep.
sport is going on, and like,
Yeah.
how was practice or a game, and that was that.
Uh-huh.
And that's fine, So
I know.
yeah.
And I feel like I have to work on that too.
Yeah.
Like that's a conscious thing that I have to be working on when I'm having those conversations, because that's naturally where my head goes to, is like, hey, how was weightlifting today? And you're kind of just talking about things that they're doing rather than
superficial dude stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than like deep diving into things and making them feel like, oh, I can talk to dad about this stuff too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, on a different note, I was going to go over some of the countdown of where is my notes? Where are my notes? Top 10 mistakes that kill real estate deals, and more importantly, who's to blame? Because you and I love putting the blame on people, especially if it's not us. So,
yes.
Yeah, so let's just get started. Number 10 mistake is buyers making big purchases mid-transaction, say a car, furniture, new credit cards. Who's to blame, Cody?
Oof. I'm going to say it is a co-ownership between the lender not doing a good enough job of saying, like putting an emphasis on that. And I think sometimes we just assume that people know, or that they would be asking for something like that. But it's ultimately on us, because I think if we as lenders did a good job and said, hey, don't do anything crazy here. If you need to purchase something out of the norm, talk to me first. Let's make sure that it's going to fit. You could probably prevent 99% of those things from happening.
Yeah.
And then that 1%, I guess I'd put on the buyer for not consulting and just kind of going, all right, well, hey, cool, let's just do this. But I think it's just education though. Like, some people just aren't going to know.
Look at you, just wanting to be a good lender.
I'll fall on the sword.
I think it's the buyer. You're an adult. Like, you should know not to do this.
For sure.
I somewhat agree with you, but I do think, obviously you should know not to make huge purchases when you're purchasing a huhuge house. But I guess you could argue that the lender should have told them, and if they've only bought 1 or 2 homes in their life, that's not a common place to be in. So
right. And you think that there would be a little bit of wondering from the buyer side of like, I'm showing you my whole financial life here. Like, I wonder if I should check with them before I buy this new car. Yeah, that to me seems like it would be a normal thing. But again, I think it's an education learning moment.
Especially like,
as a lender.
I think I should give buyers more credit. It's like they don't do it a lot. And so
no, they don't.
We see it as such a common sense issue, but it's maybe not. So well, number 9, and you can answer this, and I'm going to probably play the politician again.
Okay.
Or rather than you, is sellers overpricing based on emotion, not comps. Who do you think? Who would you blame, Cody?
Oh, I mean, this is my own non-real estate agent view. I would blame that on the seller.
Okay. That's what the stats are saying.
Yeah.
But I would say yes. And I hate doing this because I'm just doing the same thing you did. It's like it's on the selling agent as well.
Sure.
Yeah, I think obviously sellers are going to try to overprice based on emotion. That's 99% of sellers is going to do that. But it's on the selling agent to tell them what the cons are of that and why that doesn't make a good decision. And really back that up with statistics and data. So I would say that a lot of agents in this environment especially will tell you whatever you want to hear to get the deal. And we've talked about this, and it bothers me even just saying it again. But it's like, there are sellers agents out there that will promise you the world knowing that they're going to get you the price that they think you should get.
Yeah.
Say you want to list your house for $1 million, it's worth $850,000. There's agents out there that will tell you that you will sell it for $1 million, knowing that in 60, 90, 120 days you're going to have to drop it. They're going to sell it for $850. Knowing that they're wrong, knowing that the seller's wrong, and just wanting a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Want them to sign the contract. So
you know what's interesting about that, and well, never mind. It doesn't really correlate, but
okay.
It's funny to me how there's certain rules in the lending side and not on the real estate. and certain rules in real estate that are not in lending.
Oh, it's the Wild West in real estate. Christina was in Bank of America forever. So she was on the strict side of like lending. Like just you could not put a period after something or it's gonna get your loan, thrown out. And so but man, real estate I think that's unethical behavior. But how do you prove it? Like how do you say that agent knew the price was not that price? The person priced it that way, and ultimately it's the seller's decision. It's their home, so you're guiding them, but you can only guide them. So, like I've had cases where I've told them, "You're not going to get this. I'm happy to list it for whatever you want, but you're just not going to get this price." And I think if you're honest about that. You just can never tell. You can never audit that with agents. And I know agents, and I know this community, and I know like there are agents out there that truly will never say, you won't get this. They'll say, yeah, try it. Why not?
Right. So,
anyways.
Like in the mortgage world, that's called a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Where it would be like, we can get this for you. And then they move forward and it comes down to a point where you're like, oh, hey, that's no longer available.
Yeah.
So we're going to get you this. And
yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if there's a way to do it because ultimately it's the seller's house. It's their asset and they can sell it for whatever they want or try to list it for whatever they want.
Yeah. And it's market too, right? Like there could be a person that buys it for $1 million because it's their dream home, or it could sit there for, like you said, 90 days, 120 days. And you're like, well, this was false hope, but that's so, depends on, I guess there's a possibility that somebody buys that example for $1 million, but I don't know. It's a tough one. I think it's probably harder for you too, like seeing that and knowing that that's part of the strategy is just like, I'm going to tell you yes, so that I can get the listing and do this. And then whatever happens. But I'm going to just
knowing that I'm going to get
try to make you happy
that I think it's at, but so anyways. Okay. Number 8, agents not vetting buyer financing before accepting an offer.
Oh,
So obviously that's on the agent. And what that means is basically if you're representing a seller, and you have an offer that comes in from a buyer to not verify their financing before accepting the offer. So calling the lender, reaching out, finding out what their financial situation is.
Yeah.
How often do you say that people do that?
I would say.
Do you think it's a lot, or do you think agents just kind of trust the pre-approval letter?
I would, if I had to put a number on it, I'd probably say it's about 50% of the time. I usually tend to reach out at the beginning, like when I know the offer's getting submitted, if everybody's cool with it, just to reach out to the listing agent to kind of confirm that. But yeah, I'd say 50, maybe a little less than 50 actually, maybe like 30% of the time, which is usually a good sign when a listing agent reaches out to go over financing. That usually means they're pretty interested in the offer, or just at least getting the information to present to the seller. But I think it's a good idea for any listing agent, because you want to know that information, but also getting clarification that, hey, has everything been looked at, and how much do you know? Is there anything else that's left? Because I don't know. I would like to assume that everybody that's sending out a pre-approval letter, it's all been verified and good and looked at. But you never know, because there might be that person that's like, well, they told me all this stuff. I'm just waiting to get all of their documents.
Well, there's two parts of that. One, I like what you do because you proactively call agents. Like if you get a pre-approval, if we write an offer, you're like, we'll actually call the agent proactively, which I think goes a long way in an offer. So showing the lender is not just waiting for the call. Not that it's bad to wait for the call, but it's just taking that extra step, I think, has made differences in our deals. But what is a listing agent, when they call, what are you allowed to tell them about the client?
I tell them what I have verified.
Okay.
And if we've got, like, I'm not telling them personal information, credit scores, or, how much money they make, or whatever it might be. I'm just telling them, hey, we've verified pay stubs, W-2s, we've pulled credit, we've ran it through the automated underwriting system. The assets are in the bank, or they're getting a gift, or I just kind of give them like a general overview on what things are looking like. And if it's, certain situations that I feel like is less risky, if you will. I will clarify that. Like, money is already in their bank account, so they don't have to move any money around. We don't have to worry about anything like that. Or they're salaried employee, so their income is set. So we don't have any concerns with income. That way they know too, like, this is a solid, money's in the bank, income doesn't vary. They're not selling a house, like super, about as guaranteed of a loan as you can get. I will make sure that they understand that. If it's not that situation, I'm not going to be like, hey, we're trying to make sure we count as much income as possible. And I think we're there, but I'll tell them the overall like view of what's going on.
So question there, and you probably the answer is no. You sometimes have, as a listing agent, multiple competing offers. You offer, say, $700,000. Your buyer. We have a $710,000 buyer that comes in with another offer. Are you able to verify that they could afford more? I'm probably no, but it's always that weird gray area of like, you don't want to push the lender. It's your client. You've got a privacy issue and you've got to benefit them.
Right.
So for me to, as the listing agent, saying, hey, we have another other offer at 710. We haven't talked to your buyer, but can they afford 720?
Yeah.
That's probably no, right?
I would, I haven't been asked that.
And I always want to ask it just because I'm like, I get that you guys all give the canned, and it's not canned. I don't want to be rude, but it's not canned. I'm not meaning canned in a bad way, but they're qualified. Like, they can do this, they can do that. It's like, as an agent, sometimes you're like, well, we're going to counter back. Like, they offered lower than what the offer price was.
Yeah.
So we're going to counter back.
Right.
We want to make sure that they're good to take that counter,
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But
totally. And I'm glad that you actually brought this up, because this gives me an extra talking point too, with the buyer and with their agent too, to kind of go, hey, I'm going to be reaching out to the listing agent, or if the listing agent reaches out to me, because, when you're representing on the buyer side, it's like, I don't want to say how high they can go up to. Yeah. Because I don't want to be the one that ruins it. And they're like, why did you tell them we can go up to 800? Yes. We're trying to go in at 700. But I also would want to give that confidence to the listing agent as well, to say, yes, like, they're good. They've got some wiggle room. And which is probably what I would say if I was put on the spot. Like, yes, they can go over. They do have some wiggle room. So
yeah, it's an interesting one, and I don't know what your rules are, fiduciary duty to your client. And I normally see it as the listing agent and the buying agent when you offer lower than asking. So, and they're wanting, they're going to counter. You're playing the game of like, we're going to lowball them, see what happens. They counter back it, but we send a pre-approval for 700,000 initially, knowing that we can afford up to 750.
Right.
So that selling agent calls and says, hey, we're going to counter back. Just an interesting topic.
It is. And it's one that I think everybody all knows the game that's played. But yet it still kind of has to get played, because everybody's trying to represent their client in the best way possible. So it is a tough, a tough little environment in that spot where you're like, I don't want to show the cards here. Like, but at the same time, I want you to know that yes, they're qualified. In fact, they could buy 2 of these houses if they wanted to.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, number 7 is lenders surprising buyers with closing costs at the last minute.
Ooh.
Whose fault is this?
In a generalization here, I'm going to say that is probably the lender, unless something, I can't think of what would come up that would be a surprise closing cost.
It's probably not, what it's indicating is probably not talking to them about closing costs.
Yeah, that would be 100%
disclosure, and they're like, what?
Yeah, 100% on the lender. Like, there should be no hidden costs, fees. That should be gone through in the beginning of, like, line by line, if not summarizing, here's what it all looks like. Make sure you understand this, and I can walk through with you. So yeah, I'd say that's all lender based.
And you can give them a basic idea of closing costs even in the very beginning, right? Like, obviously things change slightly depending on offer prices and down payments and things like that. But you they can get a good general idea of closing costs. I ask you a lot of like what their closing costs will be for buyers.
Yeah.
We're making an offer. What's going to be their closing costs? And you can get a good idea, right?
We can get a really good idea. And we have a system that syncs up with the majority of the title companies as well. So I can get closer to the exact title and escrow fees from that too. And then our templates that we have, you're more than likely you're going to be within, if you know what the taxes are and you know what the insurance is going to be too.
Yeah.
Then you're probably going to be within $1,000 or maybe $500 of what it would actually be, because you have your variables are really just the title company fees, maybe the appraisal fee, and then like the reserve part of it for your escrow account, which is technically considered in the closing costs. If your insurance was a lot more than what we were expecting, or initially we're giving a generalization on property taxes and the place that you actually get under contract for is $200 more a month. Like that's where those big variations come in, is just if you're giving more of a generalized, hey, here's an example of what you'd qualify for, and then the house that they found was maybe similar price range, but just overall costs were different. That's where you see the biggest change. But the fee-based side of it, like lender fees, title fee, escrow, just appraisal, all that stuff, it's all pretty close to the same over and over and over. So
yeah. Okay, number 6, buyers waiving inspection in competitive markets. Who owns that?
That's
ultimately it's the buyer. It's their right to do an inspection. I think the agent needs to be very careful about encouraging that. Be careful to stay neutral and or lean the other way. I generally lean the other way and tell people, look, I know you love the house. There's lots that can come up in inspection. And you may love the house now, but then if you waive it and there's a foundation issue, that's going to cost you $60,000, $80,000 when you move in. I always like kind of, my disclaimer is always, you need to do an inspection. If you guys choose not to, that's on you.
Yeah.
Are there any ramifications on a buyer with a lender? Do lenders require it?
Nope. Okay. There are certain, like the Washington bonds, the down payment assistance
FHA
program,
or some sort of ones require, certain programs might require it or not.
Yeah, no, none of the main ones require them.
Okay.
But like down payment assistance programs, some of them will require them. Like we don't have to get the inspection. We just have to get receipt that an inspection was paid for.
Okay.
Just to kind of cover their bases.
Yeah.
But no, if you were to do FHA, USDA, conventional, VA, all the main normal options, their inspection's not required.
Okay.
Which is kind of, I guess you would think that they would want that, but maybe that's just overstepping.
Yeah. I think it's always like the thing of don't ever show a lender your
yeah. Oh man. Dude, the first loan I ever did, I'll make this quick.
Oh no.
First loan I ever did, my processor at the time, he was a younger guy and fairly new at it, which is not a good combination to have a newer processor and a new loan officer. But I got the inspection and I was like, hey, should I send this to you? Or like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
Yeah.
I didn't have a great management system there to walk me through any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. Just send it to me and I'll find out. Well, he put it in the file. And then the underwriter looked at it, and there was like a termite inspection on there.
No. And
luckily the termite people went out, or they were able to write us a letter stating there was no issues and we're good to go. But it was like, lesson learned. I never want to see an inspection report. I don't care.
Yeah, never good.
Yeah.
Well, I think let's do this. Let's do this a 2-part because we've got 5 more left. I don't want to go like too long. We're about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I know our viewers have a short attention span with us.
They do.
Let's stop this one. We'll do a 2-part series and we'll just post one this coming week and one the next week. So
I like it.
Let's do that. So we'll talk next week on the top 5 deal killers or potential
deal
killers.
Killers. I like it.
What it's called? Deal killers? Top mistakes. Sorry.
Top mistakes that kill real estate.
Okay, we'll continue in a second. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.